Hi everyone, Krista Moser here. Today I thought we'd talk about how to pick the perfect batting for every project. You guys mostly know me from quilt pattern design, but I've actually been a long arm quilter for more than 20 years. And in that amount of time, I've used a lot of different battings, some of them more exotic that you might not even know about, and then some of the tried and true runs. So there's actually really ideal picks if you're doing garments, or if you're doing lap quilts, if you're doing charity quilts, if you're doing bags. So let's talk about some of those different kinds. What I have here are some different quilts I've done, different batting in each one. So what I've got, this one here is just a baby quilt. I used 100% cotton batting in this, and you can see it has a nice floppy drape to it. Now it's very thin. It's very thin and dense, so it will wear for a long time. It's great through washings. It'll just continue to get softer and softer the more you wash it, which is pretty perfect for a baby quilt. And it'll hold up for many years. Now, 100% cotton batting actually comes with scrim and without scrim. Scrim is just a fancy word for like a fusible interfacing. But it's not fusible. It's just a polyester thin layer that the cotton fibers have been needle punched through. It's meant to give it structure. So what I've got here, this quilt, I've got, the batting is done without scrim. Cotton batting, no scrim. So it's very soft, it's very drapey. The disadvantage to a batting without scrim is that it's a little more floppy and it will be a little less structured, so you want to do heavier quilting and that kind of batting. Whereas if you get 100% cotton batting with scrim, it's got a little more structure, you can do further apart stitching, some basic information for something like that. This quilt, I actually used wool batting in. So you see it's got some bounce to it. It's a little bit on the thicker side. Here you can really see the texture in the quilting because the wool batting is thicker. The fibers are a little further apart, and so it really shows off. If you do heirloom quilting or hand quilting, it's awesome for hand quilting, I'm told, because I'm not a hand quilter. But it's really great for show quilts. If you do fancy quilting and you really want the quilting to show, wool batting or a layer of wool is a good idea. The other thing is it doesn't show creases. So you could fold it up, you could store it for a season. Once you unfold it, it looks like brand new. It looks like it was never folded up because it doesn't remember any of the creases. So this is great for show quilts because if you've got to pack it, ship it for being on display somewhere, you'll want to use wool batting or at least a layer of wool in there. That's great stuff. Now there are some care instructions when it comes to wool batting that are a little different, making it less ideal for usable quilts or quilts that you're going to use a lot because you don't want to have to wash it. Or you can be washed, but just not often. This is cotton blend. I've done this quilt with its 80% cotton, 20% polyester. So you can kind of see some texture in here. That's what's nice about doing the blend, is it's got that 20% polyester that adds a little fluff to it. So it actually does show your quilting design. It's a little bit on the thicker side, a little thicker than 100% cotton, and it works really well for quilts that are going to be used a lot and washed a lot. Great for kids' quilts, great for charity quilts. For those quilts that you're just going to have as daily use, cotton blend batting is a good choice. It's not quite as heavy and dense as 100% cotton, and it lasts, a good long time. Now the quilting distance, how far apart you can quilt it, that diminishes from some of the other battings just because it is a blend. So you want to definitely put some more stitching in there, but some of these are rated to stitch up to 10 inches apart, where others you really don't want to do much more than 3 or 4 inches. And you can see here, I actually tend to do a lot more quilting than even that. How about polyester batting? That's not something we talk a lot about, but polyester batting is ideal for placemats, table runners, because it doesn't shrink. It's very flat and dense. This is the low loft polyester batting that I've used here. So it's really flat and dense, and the nice thing is you can wash this over and over and over and it won't get that shriveled up look. So if you want to do your table sets and have them come out of the wash looking pretty fresh, then the low loft polyester batting is probably going to be the way to go. Works pretty good for garments too. Here we've got an example. See how thin that is? It's almost like felt. So that actually works really well for these kinds of things that are going to get a lot of washing. Garments, bags, other things that you want some structure, you don't want them to shrink or become misshapen, polyester low loft, it's a good way to go. High loft polyester, what we have here, it's a lot thicker. You can see this. This is pretty good for something like a kid's play mat or a baby's floor mat because it adds a lot of cush. The problem with this stuff is you don't really get it through your sewing machine. If you're trying to do machine quilting with this, it's very thick and it will be a lot harder to get your sewing machine to go through. So if you're quilting on your domestic machine, this might not be the way to go because it gets bulky even in a small quilt. It's pretty bulky. So if you're going to tie your quilt, this is a pretty good one to do. You'll have to tie pretty close together. Think about a comforter or a sleeping bag. You don't want to have to wash it too often. What happens with polyester batting, if you don't have it really secured with a lot of ties or a lot of quilting, it does tend to break apart over time and washing. So think about what it is you're using it for before choosing this polyester batting. Now there's other battings. Bamboo batting. Did you know that bamboo batting has an antibacterial element to it? So it's great for cabin quilts or something that's seasonally used, maybe in a drafty place like a cabin and you've got it stored away. It won't get musty, it won't get mildewy. Silk batting, that's another kind of exotic one. Fusible batting, let me think. That might cover it. I've written a book for this, as a matter of fact. This Know Your Batting Guide. I wrote down all of these different elements, pros and cons for each kind of batting, best uses, washing instructions, how far apart they can be quilted, everything. I just kind of covered some of the basics here, but this little guide I put together for Fox Chapel, and we built in some charts. So we have a best use chart. You can decide if you've got clothing, throws, bed quilts, art quilts, t-shirt quilts, and then going across here you can see what the best use is. So what kind of battings would best fit that project. And then the next chart over gives you all the rest of the reference stuff. So here we have 100% cotton, how thick it is, how to wash it, how much it shrinks, how far apart it can be quilted. Lots of useful information just at a glance. So flipping through this book here, you will see these text boxes. Each one of them gives you more information about each batting, as well as a pros and cons chart. So if you want the advantages and disadvantages of each one of those battings, you can just get it at a glance. Cotton blend, and each of the little headers shows you what section you're in. Pretty handy little guide. It's 55 pages of just packed solid information. Know Your Batting by Krista Moser. You can probably ask your local quilt shop if they are going to carry this, because lots of them are. We will put a link to it in the description. You can find it at KristaMoser.com, and I hope it's helpful. Thanks for watching.